Hiya everyone, before we get started, if you enjoy movie reviews like this and want more honest film discussions, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel grow. Now, I have to admit, I had never heard of I Swear until this year's award season. The film suddenly appeared on my radar when Robert Aramayo won the BAFTA award for Best Actor in a Leading Role. And if you followed the ceremony, you probably also saw some of the conversation that followed involving the real John Davidson during the presentation by Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo. But in this video, I'm not going to focus on that. Instead, I want to bring the attention back to the film itself, because the story being told here and the performances behind it absolutely deserve to be talked about. And if you're watching this from the UK, I Swear is currently available to stream on Netflix, and I highly encourage everyone to go and check it out. Now, the film tells the true story of John Davidson, a young boy growing up in Scotland during the 1980s who begins to develop symptoms of Tourette syndrome. At first, neither John nor the people around him understand what's happening. His involuntary tics begin gradually, small noises, sudden movements, but as they become more pronounced, the world around him starts to respond in ways that are often cruel, confused, and completely misguided. And watching those early moments unfold is honestly heartbreaking, because what the film does so effectively is show how a lack of understanding can be as damaging as the condition itself. Teachers assume he's being disruptive, adults believe he's misbehaving, other children mock or isolate him. And in the context of the time period, the 1980s, there was very little awareness about what Tourette syndrome actually was. Watching those scenes, I found myself feeling genuinely frustrated on John's behalf, not because of the condition itself, but because of how quickly people judged him without trying to understand what was happening. And it does make you think, how many people growing up with Tourette syndrome or other conditions were misunderstood simply because people didn't know what it was? If you've seen this film, or if you've had any experience with Tourette's yourself, I'd really be interested in hearing your thoughts on that. One performance that I really want to highlight here is Scott Ellis Watson, who played the young version of John Davidson. And honestly, I don't think he's receiving nearly enough recognition for what he does in this film. His performance feels incredibly natural and completely believable. You can see the confusion in his eyes as the tics begin to develop. But more than that, you see the emotional toll it takes when the world around him starts treating him differently. There's a particularly difficult element to watching those scenes because you know so much of the hostility he's experiencing is coming from people who simply do not understand what's happening. And that includes the way schools handled behaviour back then. There are moments where John is punished, even physically, because teachers believe he's deliberately acting out. Watching a child be disciplined for something that is completely outside of their control is incredibly uncomfortable, but it's also important for the film to show that reality. As the story progresses and John grows older, Robert Aramayo takes over the role, and he's phenomenal. This is a performance that clearly requires an incredible level of research, empathy, and physical commitment. What makes it stand out is that it's never exaggerated. It feels respectful, human, and completely authentic. For me personally, the moment the film locked me in was around the 30-minute mark. By that point, you have spent enough time with John that he stops feeling like a character in a movie and starts feeling like a real person whose life you're invested in. And that's when the emotional weight of the story really begins to land, because you start to realize just how exhausting and isolating living with Tourette syndrome can be, especially during a time when there was very little public understanding of it. There are several difficult scenes in the film, but one moment in particular really stayed with me. There's a sequence where John is attacked and later wakes up in hospital wearing a neck brace. Now, for most people, that would already be painful enough. But because of his tics, his head and neck continue to jolt involuntarily, and you can see the absolute anguish on his face. Not just the physical pain, but the mental frustration of being trapped in a body that simply won't cooperate. It's a powerful moment that really highlights how relentless the condition can be. But what's fascinating about I Swear is that despite its heavy subject matter, the film is genuinely funny. And it's important to mention that the humour is handled with real respect. The film never makes Tourette syndrome the punchline. Instead, the humour comes naturally from the situations John finds himself in and the way he reacts to them. One of the most memorable real-life moments recreated in the film is when John unexpectedly blurts out "fuck the Queen" during an encounter with Queen Elizabeth II. It's shocking, awkward, and hilarious. But again, the humour comes from the unpredictability of the situation rather than mocking the condition itself. And beyond Aramayo, the supporting cast here is fantastic across the board. You've got wonderful performances from Maxine Peake, Shirley Henderson, and Peter Mullen. Each of them ground the story and adds emotional weight to John's journey. My only real criticism of the film comes from its structure. A large portion of the runtime focuses on John's early life and struggles, which is important, but when the film finally reaches the point where he begins raising awareness for Tourette syndrome and becoming an activist, it feels like it happens very quickly. That part of the story is largely contained within the final 20 minutes of the movie, and it does feel slightly rushed. Now, I completely understand that the filmmakers wanted to focus on the journey that led him there, but I do think the film could have spent a bit more time showing the impact he eventually had, helping others with the same condition. What hurts the most watching the film is seeing just how much suffering was caused simply because people did not understand what Tourette syndrome was. And that's why stories like this are so important, because they remind us that sometimes the biggest barrier people face is not the condition itself, it's the way society reacts to it. Films like this remind us that empathy often begins with understanding, and sometimes it takes a story like this to open people's eyes. For me, I Swear is a powerful and heartfelt film that deserves more attention than what it's getting. I am giving it a 4 out of 5. If you've seen the film, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd genuinely be interested to hear what people think about it. And if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more movie reviews and discussions. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.